original pet health coach, and with me today is Anya Gore, who truly is a dear friend. And we had the opportunity to meet in person after 2 years of an online relationship. But
that was amazing.
Yeah, it was just wonderful. But we met years ago when Anya was using the crock pet diet and some other tricks, and I was able to help her a wee bit with Zoe, who had some complicated issues going on. Um, but Anya is, amongst other things, an animal intuitive and intuitive for helping understand relationships between what your pet is experiencing, how you can help use that information to make their life with us on Earth more easy, but also after our pets have gone on, she's able to communicate with them and help us understand where they are, what they're feeling. And when our cat Pepe was not doing well, you were a great source of comfort to us. And I could see visibly that Pepe was relieved to have gotten things off of his chest, so to speak, and made his wishes clear to us about what he did and didn't want. So,
Yeah.
Anya, thank you so much for joining today. Part of what I am excited to speak about is the book you've written, Life and Soul Dog, about Zoe and about kind of that transition through illness into whatever is next. So, how did you come to write this book? And it really is marvelous.
Thank you, Ruth. And just before I dive into that, indeed, you did help me with Zoe so much, not only with the diet, but also with lots of holistic medical advice, which I wasn't able to get here where we live. You know, there are a few holistic vets, so it was wonderful to be able to discuss things with you. So I'm always grateful to you for that. And so was she, and so is she. So, yeah, the journey of this book started really not long before Zoe passed away. So her last, the last months were very tough and hard. And I did chat to you about that last year, in fact, not that long after she passed away. We had an interview about that as well. And in her very last days, we kind of flipped, or I flipped into almost an altered reality where the veil became very thin between the worlds. And, you know, I was spending all my time with her, and we started having quite intensive dialogues where I would be writing down madly all the stuff she was telling me. So she came out with a lot of wisdom, comfort, expressing her experience of getting ready to pass over and helping me with my doubts and anguish about it. So from there, from those dialogues, a little seed was planted really by her that she really wanted me and was really pushing me to share her wisdom in some way. So share her wisdom, also my wisdom, and our joint wisdom, because we're a team of wisdom too, that happens, that is happening these days. And when she passed away, not long after, I started writing. I just sort of wrote every day. I tried to write, I don't know, an hour a day or 1,000 words a day. And my idea at the beginning, or the idea that she kept kind of whispering to me, was more at the beginning about sharing some quite deep philosophical ideas and almost a really spiritual guidance, I guess. However, before I started to get into the book, I thought I must actually just write down whatever comes about our journey together. You know, all the challenges we had, there were many, all the lessons we learned, and all the things I tried and we did and didn't do well at and then did better at. And this is basically our story on a quite a grounded day-to-day level. And then I thought I must just get that out as a little introduction, and then we'll get into the real book. But as it happened, it didn't work out like that. As I think, often I think we think we're going to write a certain type of book. I don't know. It's the first book I've written this way. I did it very many years ago. It's much more personal, a totally personal book. But if you think you write, I have heard it's not often the one that comes out. So what happened was that this sort of quick outline of our relationship, the, the structure of the book. So it was all the different. And what emerged was that Zoe was coming in my head and pushing me, and also whenever I got a bit distracted or had a few days when my conscience, she'd be saying, "Don't stop this out." And so finally we completed it, and then I had months of the whole journey of self-publishing, which I never got into before. So that was another adventure. Yeah. But it feels very fulfilling to have got this book out into the world, that it actually is a physical reality. And I know that she is very contented about it. It feels like something important for us has been achieved. And from here, it's all still evolving, I think, but she definitely has messages for people, and I think she wants to help on a more individual level, in certain situations as well.
Oh, that's quite interesting. So when I was reading the book, one of the things that Zoe was saying to you that really struck me is you don't ask for help, and yet you often need it. When you ask, you don't trust, and when you don't trust, no one can help. And that struck me because I'm a little guilty of that myself. But indeed, she had so much wisdom, um, of
Amazing.
helping you understand where she was with all of this. It just was such a poignant read. So happy about that. And so it sounds like she's now still wanting to offer help to others.
Yes, I mean, she has already sent messages to some people, and I think I'm going to be doing more of that, offering messages from her, and little snippets, and we'll see where it goes. I don't like to make plans that are too rigid, because it is a creative process, and co-creative between her and me, really. But she has an amazing wisdom and an amazing connection with really everything, sort of universal connection. And one thing she did for me so powerfully was actually to hold my hand through the grieving of her. So she taught me a great deal about how to handle that, and how to move into and not resist the pain. And she talked a lot about allowing allowing that feeling of heartbreak and your heart bursting open somehow. That we have to go through that, but we can see it as an opening to more love, which it is, because it's, as she often reminded me and is saying to me now again, remember that that's essentially what we all are. That is what we are.
That is, and that's the message we struggle with so much. I think it's easier for us to see that in our pets, that they are love, um, and that's the essence of their being. But I believe that we forget that as humans, that's ours as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We don't allow ourselves, or we don't believe it to be true of us, but they do. They know it is, our animals, and you know, they're so extraordinary in their generosity to us, and also generosity sometimes, as was the case with her, in bringing things up for us to the surface through the very challenges and difficulties. They are actually, in a way, consenting when they I believe this, when they come to us, they're consenting in a way to put up with some tough stuff in order to awaken a bit more and learn things. I don't believe that's the only reason for them coming into their lives here as a sort of sacrifice for us. I don't believe that, but I do believe it's part of many animals' journey. So,
And that's quite, I think that's quite true. It's one of the other things that she was telling you in the book was to understand the power of flexibility and gentleness. And that is a difficult lesson for all of us, to
yes,
relax and let things sort of ease through instead of
yes.
forcing and fixing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fixing was a big thing, and it's exactly that she talked a lot about, you know, control, fear, one which is kind of very linked to the other. You know, we control through fear, and because we're afraid, we want to control, and so on. And yes, fixing is a big thing for so many of us, and it takes a lot to move beyond that, because life, especially with dogs, I think life for dogs and for humans with dogs is quite complex in our modern world. Certainly, they have so much they have to fit in with somehow. They have to oblige. You know, they have to be polite, be sociable, be this, be that. And that balance of how to respect and honor really who they are and help them and guide them through to become, for our lives to be possible together, is a really tricky balance, I think. And we talk about it a lot in the book. And
Yes.
it is a tricky balance. So yes, and flexibility and gentleness is, yes, absolutely. You know, I I know that she laughed about me when I talked about rules, and they were laughable because whatever rules I tried to set up were soon broken anyway, if not by me, by someone else. um,
Well, and she didn't care much for them. She sort of laughed about them, didn't she?
yeah, yeah, very much. It's sort of, you know, I think people often, and I've been guilty of this myself, you know, don't realize always the fullness of intelligence and, in a way, soul journey and soul path of our dogs, let's say, talking of dogs. Because I do believe for cats and other animals, there's much less control. We don't even think we can, so we let them live their lives more freely somehow.
We just, yeah, and that was the thing with Pep, is that he made it abundantly clear when we started traveling that he was not too sure about it, but he'd
Mm.
see about it. And so we realized that he was smart enough and savvy enough that when we got to somewhere new, he could just go outside. And so we said, okay, there's just one condition, and that is that you have to come back at dusk, because the coyotes will eat you out west. and and so he got out one night, and because he was constantly pushing that one rule that we had, and so he did get
Mm.
out one night and
Mm.
had a brush with something, and thankfully survived it without too much of an
Right.
issue. And after that, he accepted the rule and kept it. So it was
Okay.
always funny to us that that was the one thing he acquiesced to. Um,
Yeah, he needed his own experience of it to maybe prove it to himself, or who
it,
knows.
it's just like us. We have to have that experience where we
Yeah.
damn near kill ourselves to realize that that really was the boundary. Yeah, but
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
he was
Ah,
crazy that way. Yeah.
that must have been scary for you.
Oh, it's just, oh, yeah. But thankfully, he was well, and
Mm,
didn't have any trouble with that. But through this book, and you've done so much work to help others sort of understand what their pets were experiencing, what their pets wanted the person to understand about this disease process. But,
mm,
but through this book, you've said so many things that I've seen as a veterinarian that we tend to get a diagnosis about our pet and then put all this effort into researching it until the pet has become the diagnosis in our
yes.
minds.
Yeah.
And that was something that Zoe spoke to you about quite often. So
Yes.
what did can you tell me how that felt, sort of hearing that, and what she would do
Yeah.
to get you to stop?
Funny, she's just saying to me now, she's saying, yes, we don't like to be limited to that small part of who we are, because in fact, it's not really who we are, it's just an experience we've chosen. So that's always hard. Okay, so that's always hard for us, right? Humans to imagine that we might choose difficult experiences, but she's saying you can't know the whole of it from your perspective where you are. If you knew the whole of it, if you knew the whole of it, she's saying, you wouldn't need the earthly experience at all. So okay, so I think the it does become your focus because we so easily because we fear losing our pets so much, our companions. Yeah. The word pet is often a bit reductionist, but
Yes, yes,
our
that's
beloved companions. Okay, we'll use pet, but so they we want them to be with us forever. We're afraid of death. We're afraid of losing that companionship. We're afraid of change. We all are afraid of change. It's not easy, and yet it's one of those conundrums that life is change. There is nothing else,
ways
nothing.
around it.
Yeah, life is change all the time, and the more we can find ways to go with that elegantly, the happier we will be. And she certainly had that. She said that to me, that often that yes, sometimes she felt discomfort, sometimes she felt pain. She didn't enjoy going to the vets, but she put up with it. She understood the reasons why we were doing this, until towards the end I decided, but with her making it very clear that we weren't going to do that anymore. Towards the just she really refused to have any unpleasant or painful or, well, invasive stuff. In fact, in the end, I couldn't even really get her into the car. So it was she was right that's we went into a much more gentle palliative sort of care state by then. But yes, so her illness most of the time didn't stop her enjoying life and having all sorts of lovely experiences, and above all feeling and living that connection with us, which was so important to her and to us. So it was just an experience, but yes, it's an experience that did tend to dominate, or easily could dominate. There were times when you kind of were able to forget about it a bit, but there were regular appointments, there were blood tests, and then there was always the sort of what could I be doing better? What should I be doing more of? Am I choosing the right treatment, the right people? It's you just you do obviously the best you can, and it's hard not to beat yourself up. And she did go on at me a lot in the book about not being hard on myself, and I certainly can have a tendency to. I do think I'm much better about it nowadays, and a lot of that is thanks to her, and to truly embracing the fact that I really always did the best I could in the moment.
And really, that's all we ever can do, isn't it? We
Yeah,
can really do the best we can.
that's right.
But
That's
it
right.
is hard. I mean, if you're in that position of going to the appointments and worrying about what the test results are, so every little piece is a reminder of that illness instead of
Yeah,
being, well, today is a good day
yeah,
and
that's
today's
right.
not so good a day. But that's
That's
a
right.
difficult thing, and especially I think in the Western world, the medical system is set up so that it keeps you highly anxious if you are chronically ill or your companion is chronically ill. And it sort of pulls us away from the idea that we do indeed have innate wisdom. And when we get that sensation, when the doctor says to us, oh, we should do X, Y, and Z, but we're getting that sensation, that gut feeling that Y is not a good idea, but we never
Mm,
say anything. And so then we have potentially disastrous consequences to deal with. I think
mm.
that's another thing she was trying to speak with you about is, okay, some of this, but in the end, she finally said to you, nope, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, she
Totally.
did.
Yeah,
She did. And so then at that point, um, we moved into a different phase where, and I do talk about that quite a lot, where everything seems, or is, extra precious. Like every little moment might be the last one, where that particular thing happens, or that we do that. And I do think, not that I always succeed, but I do think it's a good way to live anyway, actually, to sort of be, I suppose, have that tenderness for each moment that we can be conscious of.
exactly. And as Zoe said, you you simply must allow the sword to be there because it is there, and that's exactly it. If I were a younger veterinarian, I think I would specialize in palliative care
Mm,
because that has the potential to bring the most ease and relief of suffering for pets that are they're going to be into whatever it is for the long haul, however,
yes.
however the long the haul is or short the haul is.
Mm,
And that was one thing Pep was reminding me of is being the veterinarian, it was always my business to know what the answer was, know the diagnosis. And so I nearly, really, when he was quite ill, I nearly went to another veterinarian an hour away to get some additional diagnostics done. And as I'm sitting there meditating that morning, I don't know if it was Pepe or I finally got the message. It became clear that was for me, not for him. And so
mm,
that's the difficult thing is
mm, mm,
to be at peace with the not knowing
mm.
and simply enjoy the beautiful, precious moments that we have.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's wonderful that he got that message.
Through my thick skull.
No, I don't think it. I think that's being hard on yourself. I think,
That's
I
true too.
think, yeah, I think it's tricky for us because we have this huge. We feel we have like 100% responsibility for our animals, and of course, in a sense, we do. But in a sense, perhaps not quite. They do have their own journey, and it's having, if possible, the sensitivity to be connected with them enough to be able to understand that,
Hey,
to be able
yes.
to honor it, and but they will do and accept all sorts of things for our sake too. So sometimes it is for us, and they're okay about that. They understand that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's a fine balance, as so many things in life. And I think with animals, it's that kind of balance that is brought into very sharp focus, because they go straight to our hearts so much. So it's so honest and deeply felt with our animals, more so often than in other situations.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, if someone listening is has a a companion that is starting to struggle with a chronic disease, or they've received a dreadful diagnosis like cancer or end stage kidney disease, how would you suggest they start thinking about this? And I guess in particular, how can they start thinking about what that animal wants and how we can help support them best through this process?
Well, I think there's no one answer, um, because it will depend entirely on the individual animal and the individual person. So um, I suppose that person would do best to find whatever way is right for them to settle into their deepest truth in some way. So, whether that's through just settling into their heart, or doing a meditation, or just being quiet somewhere and just thinking about what really matters to them, what really matters in their relationship to their animal, what really matters in their eyes for the animal. And I think when they are in that state of curiosity, really, and openness, and are able to put aside as much as possible their own fears of losing their animal, then they will get new insights and new information coming in about how their animal is feeling and what they really want. And I think people often make it harder than it is, because if we listen to our gut, we do know what our pet animal wants, I believe. And I think it's more that we don't quite know what we want often.
We just
We
don't want them to leave us.
No, we don't want them to leave, exactly. And of course we don't, because even though I know, and perhaps others believe too, and also know, or maybe not, but that they don't leave actually, but they do leave physically, and our physicality is very real and very important while we're here. It's not less important than anything else, and it's not less spiritual than anything else either. So it's very real and it's very important. And when they're not here physically, we just physically miss them. That's inevitable. And I think all we can do is accept that as true, and do our best not to close our hearts in a protective way, but keep them open, whether it's open to go through the grieving and all of that, or open to accepting, to inviting another animal in, or whatever it looks like for a person. So I think, to answer your question, it's difficult to answer it, because it depends on each person and each animal. But I think one of the main bits of advice I would give is to find as much time, having gone through all the whatever medical things you consider are important and responsibilities you have, when you sort of, if you've reached the end of that particular road for whatever reasons, then what you've really got is your presence with them, your time with them, you really cherishing those precious moments, and allowing yourself the time to be with them. Just, that sort of essence of being, even if you don't have much time and you're a busy person, you can always find some minutes here and there, and just let those minutes be as absolutely present as you possibly can. Just even if it's 5 minutes, just utter presence and doing nothing, just being together, sharing whatever it is you can share with them. And it might be nothing, it might be crying into their neck. That's fine too. But they are, in any case, utterly aware of what's going on for us. They know what we're thinking, they know what we're feeling, they know us better than most people in our lives.
Yes, and often than we know ourselves at times.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
But
right.
I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. Really, really, all they would like is for us to turn the notifications off, put down the phone, close the computer, and sit quietly outside,
Yes,
preferably, with them,
yes,
and
yes,
just be there.
yes.
Just be.
Yeah,
And that's
yes.
so hard for us anymore with our modern life.
Yes, it's such, as we know, all of us, it's such an addiction. And our lives and livelihoods depend on it, on the computer and all that. Zoe talked to me a lot about that. Get off the computer and all the time, and yet, I had to write a book on the computer. But
Yeah.
but but yes, it's hard for us, and yet we so desperately need that. I believe, and even for short moments, it's very renewing, and it really, really helps our animals who are reaching the end of their lives. To it just they literally, it feels to me as if they're breathing a huge sigh of relief when we are finally present.
Yes, because that is such an inordinate expenditure of energy to keep asking and asking and asking
Mm,
and
mm,
asking.
mm,
When, yeah, and I think that's a lot of what I've seen too, is that with my own pets, with my clients' pets, if I'm
mm,
so busy doing all of these things, trying to figure this and that and the other out, when
mm,
here are these lovely eyes looking at me saying, I'm right here. Would you please just come right here
mm.
and put all that stuff away and just be with us? But I think that's the difficulty.
Exactly, and those eyes looking at you, they're saying as well, I'm right here, can you just be with me? But they're saying, you're right here, can you be with you too?
Yeah,
Can you be with you? And that's, they're saying that to us a lot, a lot. Yeah.
amen to that. Well, one of the things, and I put up a couple of links. One is to your book and to your website, but this is the book on Amazon. Oops, let me get the cookies out of the way. But this book really is lovely. So this is in German because I'm in Austria at the moment, but I cannot. If you're starting down this path with one of your own pets, or you've been down the path recently, I cannot recommend this book highly enough because it helped me after having so many years of experience with death kind of reframe some of the concepts uh, that I was working under, for better or for worse. The other there's a couple of other links I'll put in as well, one to your main website, and then also to your Facebook group that around the book. And so I think that's such amazing, valuable information. And then the other link I'll put here is for people that are sort of entering into this difficult time with a companion. This conscious caring booklet you wrote really sort of at the what, about a year ago, something like this.
Yeah, it was about a year ago. Yeah, I'd started writing a book, but it was not long after Zoe passed away that I wrote that, because it was really inspired by what I'd been through with her, and also by some of my clients and their animals as they were passing. So I got, I really felt it was important to put out. Just it's very simple, but I think it helps people look at things just slightly differently, and more to be more at peace about a lot of that, which is hard, really.
Right.
There are difficult. Those are difficult times. I think it helps to just give some ideas about how to get through them better.
And I think it's an exceptionally useful booklet. So thank you for writing that and sharing.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And then this is on your site. Part of what you do is help connect people to their pets, to their companions, whether they are still on this plane of existence or in another, and help answer some of these questions, which I think all of us struggle with. So you we've got this available for you if you'd like to reach out to Anya and see about working with her to you help your help your best friend a little bit better. Um, Now, when we were speaking earlier, you mentioned that Zoe wanted to share something with people. So I'm going to let you take it away on that one.
Okay. Well, one thing I'll see what she picks out to just say to people in a minute. But one thing I did want to add is that this book is very much knocking me off any kind of pedestal. It truly is very it's very honest about all the different struggles and mistakes and so on that I or mistakes as I saw them, that I made. And I think that's something that's also quite nice for people to read through and I know already from feedback I've got that people do relate to a lot of the stumblings and the
Yeah.
the sort of paths that I took, which weren't perhaps the best ones sometimes. So I think I like the fact that there's a journey there was a journey in writing the book, but the book is a journey too. And I hope, and I think it's true, people do relate to that. So yes, I'm not putting myself out there as some kind of goddess of knowing everything about how to be with a dog, because no.
And you were very honest and vulnerable about all of the entire experience, and that takes a great deal of courage to sort of expose yourself, if you will.
Yes, I think.
Thank you.
I hope that. Yes, I think I was vulnerable, and there's nothing to hide. That it's not of great use to people if you're not. I think if you're not honest. So let's see. I've got my book here, so I'm just going to ask Zoe to choose, just to open it at random. I like doing this. She likes doing this, so we're going to do that. Is that okay? And see
Absolutely.
what page I have no idea. Let's see what a message that will be of use to those who are watching or who watch the replay. Oh, okay. So she's opened it at a chapter called The Step. The Step. And this was a staircase we have in our house, in our garden, actually going up to the garage, where we used to sit after our walks. We'd sit together and I would sometimes sing to her, which she enjoyed anyway. And what she's saying to me about it, I mean, she says various things in the chapter, but I'm not going to read them or anything. I'm just going to see what she's saying now. Why did she choose that? Okay, because she says that is important because steps are inevitable. Steps are how you move through the world, and steps lead up or down according to your choice. So when you are on a step, where you're in a place in your life, you choose up or down. You have all the power you need within you to choose to elevate yourself or to choose to sink and get submerged by difficulties and your mind getting darker and heavier. You can do that, or you can move upwards to fresher horizons, she's saying, to wider vistas and to new possibilities. So she's really reminding, she's saying, I remind you all of your own power, of your own choosing, choice, your power of choice, that you have huge power of choice. And she's saying, actually, you have a huger power of choice than we dogs often have. So use it wisely and use it with fun and with the song in your heart, because she's remembering me singing on the step with her, with the song in your heart that brings you encouragement and courage to keep going. Okay, that's her message. Thank you.
Amen to that. If we could walk that talk every day, we'd all be in a lot better shape.
We would, and we can.
Exactly. Every day you can wake up to a new day and choose a different path.
And
And
every minute that we become conscious of perhaps, a choice point, if you like, or maybe when things aren't feeling so good, we can at least open the possibility of choosing something else. I'm not saying it's always easy to do that, but to open that window of possibility to it.
yeah, that makes sense. It's all that's one of the things. So Pepe was my role model for years because he just took care of himself really well. He didn't let things impact him if he felt they were silly rules, things of that nature. But
Mm.
what I would watch him do is make choices
Mm.
and take the breath, and the time between taking the breath in and letting the breath out is where he made his choice. And indeed, we have that option and that power of, as some like to call the gap between
Yeah,
the thought coming to us and our response to it. And I think that's part of what our animal companions are trying to teach us is to be in that space more frequently and pause for just a moment so that we can make a choice that has a better opportunity to elevate us rather than pull us back down in the muck.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And then, even if we do sink, it's not the end of the world,
nope.
because we'll come up again, and hopefully, and in most cases, let's say, and so it's de-dramatizing it. I think Zoe's message was also about de-dramatizing things, because we tend to get very um, sort of caught up in drama, and that's not usually very helpful.
No, no, and it's sort of, unfortunately, it's sort of where our culture is right now.
Mm.
The more dramatic something is, the more shiny and difficult to resist it is as well.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Anything else that you would like to say that we haven't touched on?
I don't think so. I just thank you very much for asking me to come on and chat, and for all your support also with Zoe again.
Oh,
And thank you to all the animals and their people that I am fortunate enough to communicate with, because they all um, enrich life so much, not just mine, not just their people, but they kind of enrich the universal consciousness so much. And I think Zoe's connection, the connection we have, is something I wouldn't have expected to be quite like it is now. And it's just, I'm just so delighted to be able to share some of it. Yeah, to be able to bring that
Wonderful.
out, get into the world.
That is it's such a wonderful opportunity that she's given you to help others understand. So thank you so much, Anya Gore. Uh,
Thank
Go
you.
check out the link to uh, get Anya's book, The Life and Soul Dog. It will not be a purchase you regret. It is a beautiful and compelling book. So thank you for all you do, and we look
Thank
forward to
you.
speaking again in the future.
Thanks so much.